stepped into the cage, and everyone stopped what they were doing to watch and react. I lived to stand in that cage and pretend not to hear what they were saying when the ball rocketed off my bat and carried unimaginable distances. They whispered to each other, saying the same things I'd heard since high school. The ball just sounds different off his bat. Did you see where that one went? This guy's amazing. It felt good to be back on a baseball field, and it felt good to be feeling good. I can't overstate the lightness it created in me to wake up with a clear conscience and go to bed the same way. Every day was progress, building my body up instead of tearing it down, and taking each day as a gift from God. It seemed like this gift, this special gift to play this game, hadn't abandoned me after all. When I finished hitting, the first thing Katie said was, "I felt sorry for those other guys." "Why's that?" I asked. "Because they're not very good." "Sure they are," I said. "They're all professional players. Some of those guys will be in the big leagues someday." "Well," she said, completely innocent, "compared to you, they aren't very good." I turned my head and looked at her out of the corner of my eye as if to say, "What'd you expect?" That was the moment it dawned on her. All those things she'd heard about my ability on the baseball field, all those things pro scouts said about me when I was the #1 pick in the 1999 draft, all those things that made the Tampa Bay Devil Rays give me a record $3.96 million bonus out of Athens Drive High School in Raleigh, all those things were true. They were every bit as true as the nightmares she had lived with me, her drug addict husband, ever since we got married. Her jaw dropped open for a moment as the realization struck her. I could see her running it through her head. What she had just witnessed, coupled with the torment of the past 2 years. She clenched her jaw and play punched me in the shoulder. "I'm glad I didn't know this before now," she said. "If I'd have known you were throwing away that kind of talent, I would have been so much angrier with you." Chapter 1. The man watched silently, his arms crossed. He sat directly behind home plate, halfway up the concrete bleachers, a lone figure in the West Raleigh Exchange ballpark. I didn't know who he was, or why he was there, but occasionally I'd catch my daddy glancing up at him from his spot on the field. They'd exchange polite nods like two men sharing a secret language. I was practicing with my brother Jason's team like I always did. The team, made up of 11 and 12-year-olds, was coached by our father, Tony Hamilton. I was 6 at the time, almost 7. I ran around shagging balls and getting to hit at the end of practice. Jason, whom I always called Bro, was always encouraging to me when he probably could have told me to stay home or at least stay out of the way. The day the man sat in the stands, I made a diving catch in the outfield that nobody could believe. I was running from right center toward center field and diving till my body was parallel to the ground as I caught a ball about 6 inches off the ground. I was 6 years younger than most of the players on Jason's team, but I could do things on the field they couldn't do. I lived to play ball, and I had precocious ability from the time I picked up a ball. Bro and I would play in the yard or across the street at the cemetery, and I refused to accept our age difference as a valid reason for his superiority. I couldn't beat him. He's 4 years older than I am, and 4 years is a huge age difference for a long, long time. But I always thought I could. Whatever we played, whether it was basketball or wiffle ball, I went into every game convinced this was going to be the day. The time I spent practicing with Jason's team was my favorite time of the week. My team, at the coach pitch level, was not a challenge. When the season started, I was the typical little boy, thrilled to put on his baseball clothes and get to the season's first practice. Once I got there, though, I was disappointed that my teammates couldn't keep up. My daddy coached my team, too, and my mama always came to our practices. After the second or third practice of my coach pitch team, once we were in the car and nobody could hear, they told me they could tell I was easing up on my throws and maybe not swinging as hard as I could when I was taking batting practice. "I don't want to hurt anybody," I told them. They shook their heads. "You play the way you know how to play," Daddy said. "Those other boys need to get used to catching balls that are thrown hard, and if you start trying to hit the ball so it won't hurt anybody, you're going to get into bad habits that'll be hard to break."